Now that we went over the balancing and deficit not covered by equity part, well, we just also have these income taxes and bank loans and interests in the second phase, but that's something that's not that complex, and I will just explain to you when we look into the model. So let's move on to the third phase. And here we will just start off with a slide that you already know from the strawman. So of course we need to come up with some outputs of this, well, model. And the most important one is actually this one, midterm financing. So you already know this slide, and it, well, just explains how much of financing we need in the midterm to keep the ship afloat. Other than that, we have, well, this new slide here, which is kind of a first draft for showing how the EBITDA margin is developing over time. So here for the base case this is, and we will come up with this for each of the cases and, well, show how this is working out. On the right hand side, we have the tracking of the measures. So as this is just the first draft, well, really it's, well, this is just rudimentary here. So we will take care of making sure that this looks nice in the end. And finally, we have this slide. So we need to link the whole thing to short-term liquidity. And this is something that I will also show you in the model. Here it's just important to look into two things. The first one is where actually do the two models integrate. And that's the PB tab, so the base plan I use for this. You could just as well use the, well, base case or management case, but here I'll just show it for the base plan. That's just the most conservative way of looking into things. We'll just get a value copy of that base plan and, well, transition it from a monthly perspective to a weekly perspective, as the liquidity plan is on a weekly perspective. And we will use these selected line items that I will show you in the short-term liquidity videos to plan the short-term liquidity. Other than that, well, it's always important to make sure that your numbers go together. So if you build two models, like for example, the liquidity model and the business plan, you need to be sure that, well, for example, trade receivables, aka booked receivables in the liquidity plan, or the same thing for the payables, they just, well, are equivalent, because if that is not the case, it will naturally lead to people asking questions. And even if it's just like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3%, you know, it just indicates that you got the past thing wrong in some way and you will lose trust based on this. So just always make sure that these numbers go together. If they don't add up, ask your clients, well, stakeholder, accounting department, finance department, whomever, and make sure these numbers go together. Same thing for the cash and equivalents, current accounts and bank loans. I'll also show you how these go together and why we always get those numbers here in the middle. So that's it for the short intro. I actually just noted that this was already half an hour almost. But let's jump without further ado into the Excel model, and I'll show you how to build this thing. And we will also get back to some of the slides to make sure that really everything gets across well.